All right, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we want to welcome you to Focus on Liberia. Welcome and welcome to yet another edition of the Opposition Perspective with Robert Moncio Kpadeh. Welcome to the broadcast. Hit the share button quickly as you usually do for us. Let's get as many people as possible to follow this broadcast, the Opposition Perspective with Robert Moncio Kpadeh. This program comes on every other Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, which is about, I believe, 6 or 7 p.m. GMT in Liberia. Another edition, and I'm Anthony C. hosting. Let me share with you what we have. The gentleman who is the chief discussant of this program, Robert Moncio Kpadeh, he is the leader of the One People Revolutionary Movement. He has been here propounding the issues, but he is a leader of an institution that is also engaging on the ground. We want to know a little more about this institution. Rabbi is here to share that with us. For the issue, we'll be discussing the family account on EPA officer Mervin's death. The family, they are telling a story and they are saying what the government told the Liberian people is completely far from the truth. Who is telling the truth, the government or the family? Also, the Senate staffers quagmire continue for salary arrears that the staffers claim that the Senate owes them. So we are asking the question, does the Senate owe its staffers? Rabbi is here to help us discuss that. Also, does the opposition CPP have a plan? And we will bring in some other things along the line as we go into this discussion. Let me bring in the chief discussant, Mr. Rabbi Moncio Kpadeh. They call him the general. Welcome. Another edition. I'm happy to be here, my friend.
With you to talk about our country, to talk about all the issues that matter to us as people of our country. You know, I returned just this morning from Lofa, a pretty challenging trip, but I'm excited to be back to Monrovia. You know, so I thank you for having me. Let me greet fellow citizens, you know, with the most respect. And it's always, like I said, it's always for me a duty, you know, to come here and lay down my thoughts on the issues that matter to us, to talk about governance, because governance is critical, it's essential, very quintessential to the forward march of any country. So we should talk about governance, and we should have people to account for the leadership. And so I find it as a duty, you know, and as a patriot, when duty calls, you know, a good patriot obeys. So that's why I'm here. Thank you for having me.
Rabbi, you know, we are always happy here at FOL to have you because we know your perspective is always succinct when it comes to the governance issues of our country. And that is why they program the opposition perspective. I couldn't be so happy to have a gentleman with, you know, an impeccable intellect to discuss the issue of governance without fear or favor, irrespective of whoever is involved. And so this edition promises to be exciting. Let's get to it quickly. Let's start with the One People Revolutionary Movement. I understand it's a pro-democracy and political advocacy organization. You're being on the ground, you're being engaging citizens, you know, your compatriots, and, you know, in search for a better Liberia. But there are many people who don't know what have been some of your engagement. What is this institution? And share with us some of your work.
We establish, you know, with will and courage, establish the One People Revolutionary Movement. Feel progressives and revolutionaries thought it was necessary for us to do so. Why? Because we believe that in order for us to advance our democracy, in order for us to put premium and emphasis on governance, in order for us to sanitize politics, because politics is so contaminated in our country, it will require, you know, quite frankly, sitting down with the people and providing them political enlightenment. At the end of the day, our people are the ones who possess the power, the uncommon power, to go and vote leaders in office, public office. They vote for representatives, they vote for senators, they vote for president, and sometimes in the future they might be voting for city mayors and superintendents to ensure that those offices have got some quantum of independence to do their business. Be that as it may, if we do not provide political enlightenment and consciousness for our people will continue to vote people on the basis of rights, on the basis of campaign paraphernalia, on the basis of political largesse, on the basis of patronage, on the basis of rhetoric. And politics should not be all about rhetoric. Politics is an art, very decent art, through which people can seek an opportunity to serve their country. In our country, in Africa, by extension, politics has been demonized. Politics has been used just as a mere vehicle through which people can rise to the stage, grab political power, enrich themselves, misrule the country, betray the masses. And this is absolutely wrong. This is reprehensible. So the mission and the vision and the philosophy of the One People Revolutionary Movement is to provide political enlightenment for our people on the basis of political governance. Who should they vote for? Who should be president? What are the characteristics that our people in the generality should look for before they devolve their authority? Meaning because when you vote for somebody to make that person a lawmaker or to make that person a president or vice president, whatever, you ultimately devolve your authority to them, and so they represent your interests. So if you do not devolve your authority to people who got character and reputation and outstanding in society and true patriots and who are pure nationalists, want the best for the country, that will go to the legislature, go to the hallowed chamber of the legislature and advocate for you and make good laws for you and have oversight responsibility rather than conniving and colluding with the executive to misgovern the country, to plunder and loot the resources of the country. It's sad, pretty sad. So we take it on ourselves with willing pleasure, guided by patriotism, love for our country, and we do this in honor of the country, to go across the country, traverse the country. I just returned from Lufa, a very wonderful trip, and we're trying to establish the OPRM in Lufa and to stamp our authority there, and basically so that the team in Lufa will begin to have a whole conversation with the chief, with the elders, with the women groupings, with the religious groupings about political governance. We want to educate our people on the relevance of political governance, how they should be served. When God established our country and bless us or endow our resources, the resources He endowed our country with should be used, to benefit our people and put economic, dignity on their lives, not to impoverish them, not to enrich political leaders, not to enrich a president or a senator or a representative. The resources of the country must be harnessed along the lines of transparency and accountability and be put to the disposal of the people through road development, capital development, through education development, through healthcare development, vaccinate our kids, and give our people the life they deserve, But again, that can only come to reality if our people, all right, muster the consciousness to vote responsible leaders in power, transparent leaders in power, capable leaders in power, patriotic leaders in power, leaders who, are very searing and very hungry and very, genuine about pushing the country forward, the country first, and that country last, country first. And if country first, we do everything to put emphasis on our country, to put emphasis on our people, drive our people, propel our people from poverty to middle class, and to wealth. These things are possible, provided we put in place a better governance system, provided we have good leaders providing the leadership that will propel our country to noble heights. So our job, in effect, is to provide that consciousness across the length and breadth of our country, meeting all demographics, going to every nook and cranny of our geography, and traversing our entire domicile to have this conversation with our people. So as it is, we are established in Lima, we are in Bonn, we are in Colorado, and I just returned from Lufa just probably a couple hours ago, and we started holding conversation with folks in Lufa, young people and elders, to see how we can establish the OPRM, and the OPRM will go across Lufa like they're doing other places and begin to educate our people on their rights. All right, on governance. What is governance? What governance is all about? What is political leadership representation? What is all about? What they should expect from the leaders? And if the leader failed them, what they should do? So those are the things we should do. In a civilized society, citizens, are conscious-minded. Citizens are enlightened. And it is because citizens are enlightened, they vote leaders. And because they are enlightened and further conscientized, when the leader fails, then they stand up and resist the leaders. That's the
Thank you.
mentality we're trying to build in the minds of our people. Yeah, pretty much. And we just been around for a year and 2 months. We got paused in during the COVID-19. It
Okay.
paused. Our tour across the country pretty challenging. The OPR is a revolutionary institution. We do not have money. We poor people, but we have good hearts and we have good mentality, and we want to do this thing because it's very important. This is not just about it. People misinterpret the OPRN to be one political institution or one movement established to just resist we are. No. Fundamentally, we are established to resist bad governance. So if we are regime is bad, we will resist them. It's not personal. We are also established to educate our people politically. All right. Look, I said this much to you, Anthony. We are poor
Okay.
because of bad leadership. Corruption has been rampant in our country, impunity, sycophancy, because of bad leadership. All right,
I
our
agree.
people
I
are
agree.
subjected to misery and this parochial standard of life because of bad leadership. Our education system is a mess because of bad leadership. We do not have a resilient healthcare system. JFK, our only or our leading referral hospital, is in a total mirage because of what? Leadership.
Yeah.
All right. Then the question arises, why are we not putting emphasis on governance? How can we have our people to put emphasis on themselves by ensuring that the people that vote to power are serious-minded people? All right. Now, people who come during election time with big guys, and multitude of campaign paraphernalia, they come with empty rhetorics. Now, people who give political promises, the legislature, as we know, who will skip session, who will abandon session and run behind a president, because you want to share in the president political largesse or because of sycophancy. We want men and women at the legislature because that is the citadel of governance. If you have a responsible, effective, and efficient legislature, democracy will work, governance will work, and you will begin to see the fruit of governance. It will be
Thank you.
reflected in the lives of the people. You will see transformation in the lives of the people because you have a governing system that put emphasis on people and govern with transparency, and being very savvy, to get things done in the proper way. So, in effect, in a very brief way, this is our mission. This is who we are, and we're doing it in a very unapologetic way. So this is not about resisting anybody. This is a movement that is here for good, and will be here for good, and will provide enlightenment our people desire, our people require to do good at the ballot box.
Thank you, Robert Moncio. Kpadeh is the chief discussant of this program, The Opposition Perspective. He is the leader of the One People Revolutionary Movement. Robert is here every other Sunday to talk about the issues that matter. And it is always our pleasure having here as the chief discussant. I just listening to him and to you who following you, listening to him. He's a man who he has a reservoir of words, and that he uses these words always to communicate in the best effective manner that he can. I understand, and you said we have to sanitize our politics. I like that word. Sanitizing things now is common because of COVID, and you are right. Our politics is polluted. I just listened to you talking about lawmakers abandoning their responsibility to go on a fanfare with the president, and you think these guys will have the balls, to stare off of the people who elected them to represent them? I don't think they have the balls. So you are right. We need men and women with courage and the fortitude to stand up for what is right, because we need to clean the governance of our country. Yes, you are right, Robert. Liberia is suffering today because of bad leadership, and that is the crumbs of what we have been experiencing in Liberia. But let me progress. We heard from the family of the now late EPA officer, Mervyn, and then the family, we got a clip from them that we're going to roll. And then after that, we will be able to get your take on that. The family is telling an entirely different story than what we've been told. So we're asking the question, who is actually telling the truth? And before I can roll that clip, let me remind you folks a little bit about Mervyn. Melvin served the EPS for 15 years. He was trained by U.S. security personnel. He served President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf for 12 years and President Weah for 3 years dutifully. This is the person that we are talking about, but there's a lot that been going around about his character. But the family is saying what the government is telling us is completely far from the truth. And according to them, he was executed. He was murdered, according to them. All right, let's roll the clip, and then we'll get Rabbi to place some analysis around, put context around the story that we've been hearing.
You guys will have to start out telling us why you here today.
Okay, we are here to speak out on the murder of our son. For us, our family, it was murder. We have reached the conclusion that our son was murdered. We're not accepting any suicide. Our son was murdered. And we are only here so that government can be able to tell us why he was murdered and who murdered him.
Who was Melvin prior to his death?
Melvin was a gentle giant. Melvin was very lovable, kind, funny, gentle. Melvin was everybody's friend. That's who Melvin was. A gentle giant.
What was your last interaction with Melvin prior to his death?
The last interaction with Melvin was on the phone. Before Melvin left to go up on the tour with the president, he called, and that was a tradition he had. He called his grandmother and asked for prayer. He did that all the time. And that was the last time he called and he was going on the tour with the president and we should pray for him. That was the last time. That was the last time.
You earlier spoke about raising Melvin, helping to raise Melvin. What sort of child did you know him from his childhood to be?
Melvin lost his mother when he was under 3 years old. So we raised Melvin, his mother's family, we raised him. His mother was the sister between two of us. She was next to me. And Melvin, we raised him in that family in a Christian home. This is the first cousin right here. All of these kids were raised together. Melvin had never had any problem. He was raised as a normal child. Loving and caring. That's who Melvin was. And when he became a young man, he went into the world with the same attitude. Today, you will see people talk about Melvin all over. They will give you that character of Melvin. That's why when people come to us and tell us that our son killed himself, this family, no matter where you take us, this family is not going to accept that our son, he's not even capable of killing a fly. He's going to kill himself? No. If our son wanted to kill himself, he was a trained officer. He would have taken a single bullet. He will not torture himself by shooting all over his body. Who would want to torture themselves? And the circumstances surrounding this death is why we really have the family to say, our son did not kill himself. And we want to know who killed him and why. That's why.
And what have you been told by the government?
They say he committed suicide. The family said, no. Capital N-O, no. He did not commit any suicide. The people took Melvin's life. And we won't answer for that. He will not serve his country for 15 years on a decent record. Then you kill him and want to bury him for that record to go into history. No wonder. We want our son's name to be clear. He never killed himself. We want justice for Melvin. They must clear Melvin's name. Then the government got the nerve to come to us after they killed our son. It took 2 weeks. Nobody came to us to even say, "Oh, you're sorry." Nobody came to us to say anything to us, to even officially explain to us how our son died. That has not happened from government yet. But 2 weeks after his death, they come to us to ask about his burial. 3 weeks after his death, they come to say they can only embalm him.
Have you seen the body of Melvin?
I've seen the body. I've seen the body of Melvin. And the body I saw, he had dressing on this side of his head, he had dressing here, and he had a dressing here. When I looked on his abdomen, I saw a hole through his shirt. I saw a hole there. When I was trying to go lower to the legs, we were not allowed to go that far. We left the funeral home. So those things are assault on my son. I'm sorry. I need a different answer than the suicide. We're not going to settle. This family will not settle for any kind of suicide. He must clean up the record that he did for this government. He lived his life. This is a man who put his life on the line when you are working with the president. Do you know that a bullet comes that the bullet guys can take bullet for the president? Now this is the man who is laying down his life for his country.
Robert, it's hard to follow. You just listing our hearts and our heart out to the family. But there you have it. What do you make of all that?
Look, this is emotional for me. This is heartbreaking for me. I give the family my prayers. I give them my sympathy. I give them my love. I'm praying with them. Emotional because I know the young guy, very regimented state security officer. I knew him when he was very much younger because when I went to school in my Gibi, from Konola mission to Samuel Green's mission, I saw this kid grow up in my Gibi. I said, you young boy, I know you very well. Then I became minister a couple years back. He was already EPS guy and one of the ranking members in EPS. He was trained, I guess, abroad. Very regimented guy. A couple of months ago, I bumped into the guy in the PV area. I even gave him lift. We talk. He said, "Oh, people are just I follow you on Facebook and stuff like that." You you all have to do what you have to do. But we have to do our part. So look, my heart bleeds for the family. I listen to the mother in a very emotional way, in a very meek way. I mean, I see the grief, very, very unimaginable. I mean, the grief is, cannot be measured in any quantum. This is heartbreaking. Now, my only response would be this way. The government claimed the man, it was a suicide, even though the explanation is very questionable. And we talked about it the other day when briefly we talked about this thing. And I said to you, it doesn't make sense to me. It's unwise, it's illogical. Pretty much it doesn't make sense to me. That someone would take a Magnum, pistol and put 3 bullets in the head. Because I think you put one bullet in your head, even an elephant, what drop for a Magnum. You're talking about the head. This is very sensitive. Just run the entire body. You're not talking about the legs, or somewhere else. You're talking about the head. And you put the bullet there 3 times. And we raised concerns that this is questionable. And knowing the kid, or the gentleman he was, very regimented guy, very steady, very lively, it didn't occur to me the last time when he got with the guy that he had anything psychological going on. You see people psychological depression from their faces, from their deportment, but that didn't happen. I didn't see that. Now, the family now has a position. It is the family, it is the government position for the family position. The family is saying to us unequivocally, emphatically, that they do not agree that the son, himself, they're not going to take the suicide explanation. They believe that the gentleman was murdered. He was murdered in cold blood, by my containment in the EPS or my containment in the government. That's what the family is saying. The mother has seen the child, seen her son. And she says she saw other marks beside the one on the head that were, plaster stuff like that. She saw other marks on the abdomen and other places. She's saying it, not me saying it, not you saying it. Now, what I can suggest or recommend, we are on obligation as a country to give justice to the man family. We are on obligation to ensure that we dig deep to establish if there was a mother who was the killer. We are on obligation to ensure, all right, that we dig deep and get the facts and circumstances around the death of this young man. We should do that for the sake of humanity. We should do that in the name of justice. We should do that. Mr. Weah, who is the president of the country, and this man serving as EPS man, because EPS serves the presidency, he should take interest in this. All right? He is a father. He got children. He should listen to the cry of that woman, of that mother, and begin to act accordingly and appropriately. The body must be reserved. We must have independent forensic investigation that will come here and conduct autopsy to establish. And that's why we say forensic, because forensic will establish everything around the death. All right? Not just ordinary medical autopsy, but forensic autopsy. All right? Because the woman saying she's claiming The man body got marks here and there and stuff like that, and they don't believe, absolutely don't believe that the boy murdered himself. And we talked about that last week in our Sunday issue. Now look, the explanation is questionable. It smells very shabby, very shady. We need to be. It's something that we have to take with a grain of salt. Now the family now is saying to us, the mother has seen the body, and she's saying with the signs she saw, they absolutely disagree with the government position that the son himself, the suicide thing is a total mess. It's pure nonsense. They are saying. So we want to call on the government again to see reason, to respect the rights of the family, to give this man justice, to give his family justice, and to get closer to this matter by ensuring that independent forensic team come down in this country, they come here and investigate thoroughly and establish the facts. Do not bury the body. Do not put the man on the ground. Preserve the body and give the man justice. We want to have scientific proof to establish what happened to this man. The man served the country. He was a statesman. He protected the presidency. I saw this boy at the mansion during the Salih regime. When I worked in the regime, I saw him working, very dutiful, very regimented, very respectful, and loyal, and a patriot. A patriot in arm. He was a patriot in arm. How can he, just die in such a questionable manner, and then people want to sweep it under the carpet? We cannot allow that. We cannot permit that yet. So we stay with the family. We think the family should be given justice. We think the rights of the boy should be upheld and respected. He deserves justice. We want deeper investigation to establish the facts. We want forensic investigation, independent, to establish what happened to this boy, what led to his death, so that a final closure is done. Anything outside of that, anything contrary to that, oh man, it will be a misadventure. Underscore misadventure on the part of the government. We are calling on Mr. Weah to see reason and proceed properly, and accordingly on this matter. The people deserve justice.
And Robert, let me bring this other aspect of it to you here. And the family, according to them, Melvin has never been suspected of taking drugs as a child was brought up, in a Christian home, because there are some people that are bringing up this other story that, okay, this man was seen doing drugs, and, apparently he was intoxicated and he had no control of his mental capacity, and that's how he shot himself. The family is saying, no, this man, we don't know him. We don't know our family member or to be this way. And on top of that, the family is saying the government has not even had the decency to sympathize with them, and they are saying a lot of things. The video, we just play a short clip that says, since our son died, the government hasn't called us. They haven't reached out to us. They told us they are investigating only to send some low-class officer to arrange for burial. So their first attempt to reach to this family was to see how they could bury him. And that was the reason they made the effort to reach to the family. I mean, how can you reconcile this kind of behavior?
Look, this is unsavory. This is heartbreaking. This is wicked. I can't fathom how the man served the country, served the regime. He dies under questionable circumstances, and no one, has made a major representation, official representation of the family. You send an honor man to the family to go and talk about empowerment and stuff like that. This is inhuman. This is cruelty. This is unsavory. How do you treat people like that? And I think it brings into question the sincerity of the regime itself. A man died, a critical man. Man of a higher, ranking in the security force, in the EPS. He's died, and are you telling me not the minister of state will go? Not the director will go, and then you send an officer to go, not even to go, even President Weah cannot call, Mr. Weah cannot call the people to even give, a word of sympathy and some sense of love to them, and, and solace to them. This is just so dead wrong. I mean, it talks in a deep way. It's telling and talks about the mentality of these people. You know that I mean they are not people of any good sense of humor. You know they're not gentle, they're not compassionate, they're not loving. When people lost their life, oh man, you should be able to reach out to the family, especially a man who literally died in the line of duty. The man was in Lima, he was on the presidential tour, and the man died. And you send a low-key officer. This is so shameful. This is so shameful. It says deeply about the quality of people presiding over this country. All right? Not only that they're not educated, but they're not just civilized. And they're not human. This is that shameful. When people die in service, what the government does ultimately, the government will go there and sympathize with the family. First instant, that should, I mean, anybody who is saved or human should know that. It doesn't require education. And this is so shameful. I'm heartbroken to hear the woman is speaking a very grieving tone about how disappointed she is that these people, have failed, to go and do the needful and do what is right. This is just so reprehensible. This is cruel. This is
Rabbi,
savagism of the highest order. Savagism. I will tell me that word. Savagism of the highest order. And there is no place for savagism in humanity and civility. This is wrong. And big shame on them.
and Robert, this is the most talked about nation wide tour, right? And this guy was there to provide security, not only for the president and also his confidant. And he has not even, found it in himself as a human being to take a phone call and call this family and say, "Hey, I feel your pain. Melvin was on this street to provide security for me. And it's unfortunate that this has happened. I'm going to invest," not a phone call. And if you follow the video, the the head of the family who spoke, the lady said that even the EPA boss, one trucker, would not even reach out to them. And she said that Trocon was more like a family friend to them. He would not reach out to them in a way that is befitting of this man's service and duty to his country. I mean, this is mind-boggling, and I don't know what to make of it anymore, Robert.
It's shameful. It's shameful. And like I said earlier, it tells deeply about the quality of people presiding over the country. All right. This is not the first, questionable death. People have been dying all around this place. The government doesn't even express remorse about how people die. We follow all the issue with the auditors and stuff like that. The questionable, the manner in which they die, and how even the government responded when the people were discussing the issue of the death, the guy from the auditors from the LRA, you had the information minister coming out to even lie and give false identity of the people and said they were not auditors and stuff like that. What would you be discussing the legitimacy of the people's position when people had died? The first thing I run to mind should be sympathy. All right? So you should be very sympathetic. You should empathize with the people. You should be praying for them and showing them love. And you're trying to delegitimize the people by saying why they were not even auditors. That was the information minister saying that, Mr. Ledger Hureni. So it just says to you the kind of people presiding over this country. We in the hell. We're in the hell. But I can say to you, we stand with the family, we pray with the family, we give them our love. We're gonna stand with them. We want independent forensic audit for this young man. He deserves justice. We should give all our citizens justice. When people die and their family, raise issue about the death, and circumstances around the death, and believe that something shady went on, we must give them the opportunity to be heard, and we should provide advice. And the best way forward is science. We must have science establish what happened and give justice to the man before he is buried. I think the family should stand their ground. I think the body should be preserved, independent, funeral home, and let's establish a fact. And no one should tamper with the body so that we can have forensic people come here and do that. It is on the government to ensure justice and to ensure that befitting closure is given to this entire quagmire. This is pure shenanigans. I mean, it's bad for us. It's bad for us.
Thank you, Rabbi. And there is a comment here that I have to read, which is significant to this conversation. This guy is writing, I think his name is Ivan P. He said, I am his brother. I know Melvin very well. My brother never did any drugs in his life. Can you imagine that? And he said, I think if they knew he was on drugs, why did they allow him on the president Moncio? Robert? He said, a man is doing drugs, and then this is the man you have on the president Moncio?
So who making it claim that the guy was doing drugs? Who making it claim? The government?
Or was surrogates of the government? That's the story they are bringing, and they are assassinating this dead man character.
Okay, you see, so that's why so you see, it strengthens our argument and or it argues our point in a very solidified way. Establish the facts by what? By science. The forensic audit, people will come. If the man was on drugs, they will find a specimen or they will find substance of the drugs in his body, and they will prove it. So their war versus our war or versus the family war, all we all want is a fight. So get the forensic auditor to come, an independent forensic officer. They will establish as to what it meant because the drugs will be in the system if the man was on drugs. But I know very well this guy. I know very dutiful, very disciplined, very regimented. Was never on drugs, you know. But again, I'm not the one to make any judgment. All right, I want science to be the judgment. I want justice guided by science. All right, the science was established. The forensic science was established. What happened? Whether he was on drugs, whether he was killed, whether he was murdered, whether it was a suicide, the forensic audit will establish the facts, preserve the body. Let's show respect to this man for his service for our country. He was a warrior. He served dutifully our country. His family deserve respect. You know, his spouse deserve respect. His kids deserve respect. They deserve justice. So I'm not going to play to that kind of cheap narrative about someone taking drugs or whatever. We say, look, there's a solution. All right? No one in a rush. You don't need to rush to bury the man. Keep the man body, preserve it in a very safe way. Let's establish the fact by forensic audit what happened to the body. So I agree with the family. We give them our prayers. We stand with them, and that's our position on that.
Thank you, Rabbi. Again, folks, in cyberspace, the program you are watching is the opposition perspective with Rabbi Moncio Kpadeh here at Focus on Liberia. I'm Anthony Cyr moderating, and we have been discussing key national issues, the issues that matter for the forward march of our country. And we have been on this other topic, which is the death of the EPS officer, Melvin. And this is a front page Africa report. The family finally came out and said, no, the story that the government is telling that this young man killed himself is not true. They are not buying it. The family is saying he was killed and that there was no suicide that was committed. All right. And we are making progress here. There's another article that we ran into the Press Union of Liberia, or the media on the Press Union of Liberia. Now they are saying, hey, we will have to go into litigation because the violence against the media is too much. And we have some instances of violence against the media that we're going to bring to your attention. What is the police always heavy-handed on the media? As the image you are looking at there, you see about 5 to 6 police officers, I think about 5 of them, on this just one media guy. This man is not armed. I mean, what threat does he pose for which these guys are trying to be so heavy-handed on him? And there are a lot of stories about media personnel, I mean, some of them to the point that they lost their life. We're going to be talking about that as well. And also, we will be looking at, this story about the Senate saying that, well, we have to pay our staffers, even though they have a portion of their $11 salary was taken away by harmonization, but we're going to pay. Why are they saying that? I'm confused. And finally, we will talk about, does the opposition have a plan? But before we do that, we're going to take a short break, and we will be right back. Stay tuned with us as we take that very short break quickly. Stay tuned. right, folks, in cyberspace, we are back here with you. Welcome and thanks for staying tuned as we continue with this broadcast. Again, we want to remind you the program you are watching is the Opposition Perspective with Rabbi Moncio Kpadeh. Rabbi, let's come to this story. You know, I don't know how to really explain this. Harmonization, according to the senators themselves, ended a portion of the Liberian dollars pay for their staffers. And then they said that when that ended, they had the responsibility to have informed their staffers that, hey, the portion of your Liberian dollar salary has ended. But they failed to do that. I mean, as though that was so difficult. All you needed to do is just call these folks and inform them that, hey, this is what happened. So you're not going to get the money anymore. But they are saying, well, they made a mistake. They didn't tell them. And so they're going to pay. They're going to take the money from their own benefits. And this thing has been going on about a year now. And these staffers have been protesting and protesting. What is going on with the harmonization?
Look, in the first place, and that's what I talk about, leadership and the responsibility of leadership and how people need to put emphasis on the plight of our people. Look, this is the first time I see a government try to even reduce the purchasing power. There is a contradiction. You come with this big talk about, propos,
Yeah.
how do you argue or reconcile the proposition that you advance an agenda that is propos, quote unquote propos? I think this is pure rubbish. There's no propos yet. But how do you reconcile that you advance an agenda that is propos, meaning an agenda that put premium on poor and try to lift the poor, was quoting the people's salary? All right. As a student economics, it is a contradiction for you to advance a process to reduce poverty, but you reduce purchasing power. When you reduce purchasing power, you make people poorer because they don't have enough money to take care of the kids, to pay kids' school fee, to take them to hospital, to buy them clothes, to buy them toy, to buy them food, 3 square meal. So how then are you fighting poverty? When you're reducing purchasing power. By the way, how much do these people make at the level of the legislature, at the executive? I mean, the civil servant. How much do they make? So in the first place, it was wrong. It was utterly wrong. It was reprehensible. It was stupid. It was illogical to even reduce the people's salary in the name of trying to save money here and there. If anybody's salary should have been reduced, it should have been the senators, the lawmakers, the ministers, and top position, not the civil servant. In the first place, I didn't support the harmonization process. I think it contradicts even the proper agenda, because the proper agenda should be putting emphasis on the people. All right? It was a misadventure. It doesn't yield any result for a government who claims it advances an agenda that put premium on the poor people. You can't, because when you say poor, when Captain Sankara launched the proper agenda in Burkina Faso, the emphasis was placed on the people, giving them job. What he did, he slashed the benefit and salary of ministers and lawmakers and people in powerful positions and put emphasis on the common people, the civil servants, the farmers and the doctors and teachers. But you're slashing teacher salaries. You're slashing nurses salaries. You're underpaying doctors. You're underpaying the civil servant, all right, who wield the going concern of the government, who run the government machinery. It doesn't make sense. How do you argue against? How do you make a solid argument, a resourceful argument about your proper agenda when you're reducing people's salary? All right, so it's a contradiction in the first place. The legislature should have resisted that. They should have resisted that, because the legislature, they are there to represent the interests of the people we talk about, the civil servant, the common people, the teachers. Because when you reduce the teacher salary, you harmonize the teacher salary, and yet argue that you want him to be effective in the classroom. What sense is that? How genuine can you be? Now, the legislature, the lawmakers, who are the people deputies, All right. So that when they want to say, no, we reject this. All right. Let's enter the thing. The board then started, the 12 board then started a final ministry and derive at this nonsense harmonization, and the infatuated and the legislature brought into it. This is shameful. And this is a dereliction to duty I talk about at the legislation. This is the kind of corruption, this is the kind of collusion I talk about at the legislation. How could you collude with the executive, to subjugate the people to more despair, to more despair, to more misery? It doesn't make sense. In the first place, I reject the harmonization aspect, especially with the category that deals with slashing poor civil servant salary, teacher salary, police salary, military post salary. You should be dealing with ministers and lawmakers. You got a lawmaker making 10, 15,000 US dollars, which is a pure travesty. How do you pay a politician who goes to job 2 times a week, 15,000 US dollars or 10,000 US dollars, and pay a teacher who goes to class every day to train our children, to teach our people? All right, pay a lecturer. I'm a lecturer, yeah, I make nothing. If I tell you how much you pay me a lecturer, you wouldn't believe it. Absolutely nothing. But I impact knowledge. But the people who go to job, how they kind of go to session regularly, I pay 15K and they ride car that exotic cars that cost around 60,000, 65,000, and they got access to a lot of opportunities. The government pay everything for them. This is pure nonsense. Government should not be established to grease the pocket of politicians. The lawmakers are politicians. You should get a small salary. When you go there, you should go there to serve your country, not to go there to enrich yourself. So in the first place, I reject that, and I frown on the Senate for even allowing that nonsense called harmonization to take effect and injure or harm the tiny shoestring, salary of these staffers. Now, number two, where do they find the money from? I hear you say I missed on this because that they will pay the money and fund the money. I did their own government. The legislature is not a government. It's not a government of its own. If you approve, if you give your blessing to the harmonization, it takes effect. You can be trying to glean money from here, because when you glean money from the Senate budget, you will be undermining projects. So how do you? It doesn't make sense. It's not genuine. It's not honesty. So I don't understand that, and this is a reason for continual protestation. To pay people their salary to work, to get paid their own time, and to pay them the just salary, it doesn't happen. But in the meanwhile, Mr. His wife, they get fast salaries. The ministers are well paid. The lawmakers are well paid. This is pure nonsense. This is travesty. I don't like that, and I don't like the way we dehumanize public servants in this country.
And Robert,
the public servants.
Sorry. Let me bring the other aspect to your attention. We have two houses in the legislature, and their harmonization affected, both the Senate and the House of Representatives staffers. Now, unlike the House of Senate, the House of Representatives is saying here, this is pure and simple. I mean, the harmonization, the government, implemented, and then your salary staffer. So they call them to a meeting and say, hey, that portion has ended, so we don't have money for you. Where we're going to take the money from? We don't have any, because the budget has been passed. So there's nowhere we can take money. First of all, there was a government policy. So we all have to abide by this policy. And this policy was welcomed by the direct representative of the people, the Senate and the House of Representatives. So the House of Representatives, at least, you can say the SSI leadership are telling them, hey, this was a policy, and this is the impact. You have to live with it. There's nothing we can do about it. Unlike the Senate, they are there scratching their heads, trying to find money, and according to them, they're going to take money from their benefit. So Akara's great came and said, look, you can't do that. The budget, when the budget is passed, it's become law. How dare you go to that very budget to move money around? So, again, my dear brother, this is what we have.
Look, we're in a mess. No discipline in the governing structure of our country. To even spend money that is not appropriated for, on a cost that is not appropriated for, is corruption. The Senate is in error, and they cannot proceed that way. And like I said, none of them provide leadership in the first place, whether the Senate or the House. You needed to reshuffle this entire harmonization process. How does it help the people? How does it job job with the government own policy, proper agenda policy? How does it? How do we intend to fight poverty or reduce poverty when we reduce spending power. Look, when you reduce people's spending power, I mean, you subjugate them. You plunge them into poverty. So if the man child or the family were eating 3 times, because you reduce the spending power, they will eat 1 time. Okay, so what happened? Ultimately, they've gotten poorer, then richer. So how then are you putting emphasis or premium on them with their your so-called agenda, proper agenda? It doesn't make sense. I mean, this is just so simple. It's a misadventure. It was a misadventure in the first place. It's been fully categorized, all right, and well vetted and with great method, taking into consideration people of higher level, not the smaller people. Now, in the first place, the legislature failed because the legislature must represent the interests of the people. The reason why the legislature was established or is within our officialdom, within our governing structure, is to represent the only body in government, basic government, that represents the aspirations of the people and advocate for them. It's the legislature. How could they bless such a nonsense? How could they bless such a foolhardy thing? How could they, get, say, Kumaya, celebrate or convert a government policy that seeks or aims to subjugate the people to the pit of, to the doldrums of poverty? It doesn't make sense. Then you come now, the people raise alarm and you say, the Senate say, we'll pay them. From where? It is corruption to take money that is appropriated for other projects and programs and glean the money from there and put it into. How long can you do that? Is it sustainable? It's not sustainable. And again, the whole Senate will be guilty of corruption and misappropriation if they did that. All right. And whoever backing that is wrong. I said to them, they need to find a way, hold conversation with the people that this thing is already government policy. We give our blessing, and they should take the political license for that. It should say to you, these people here, a lot of them are not putting emphasis on the people. And that's what we're saying. The legislature need to have professional staff. Like senators, representatives need to have professional staff to be able to decipher policies. When the executive advance a policy, especially the ones that have to deal with the people, education, healthcare, those things, look at it. Because you represent the poor interest. How could you just sit there and approve something or give a blessing to somebody, and then at the end of the day, you come back, at the end of the day, the people are the victims? This is wrong. So they talk about we'll find money from somewhere. Oh man, it's not something for to listen to. It sounds to me very irresponsible. All right. How do they find the money from? Where do they find the money? All right. When the budget is passed, the budget becomes law. The appropriation there have got projects that they are job to. All right. So how do you go and take the money, maybe money for a few, or take money for this, money for that, to go give extra money to legislative staff? They have done very wrong to the staffers, and they should see reason to call them, sit down with them, and be fair enough and apologize. This is wrong. We cannot continue to run the country like this. Look,
certainly they need to apologize. They need to
apologize to people and start finding cheap excuses. Because even if you pay 1 or 2 months, what happens in the next 3, 4, 5 months? What do you get? The Senate is not a government of its own. The Senate does not run its own government. It does not run its own financial operations. All right, it doesn't. It has no independent. Sorry, I'm going.
All right, may adjustment at your end there, Ramon.
Okay, I'm back. I'm sorry for the distraction.
No, that's okay.
Okay, you see me?
Yeah, I see you.
Okay. I'm not seeing my screen.
You are here twice, so I don't know which is which right now.
Okay.
All right, let me just take out one and see.
Okay.
All right, may adjustment at your end there. Let's see.
Okay.
All right, let Robert make adjustment at his end. So this is what the Senate is telling us, and I can tell you, I think they are in error. In the first place, the simple decision was to have informed the staffers that, hey, harmonization ended that portion, and so there is nothing we can do. I mean, they have approved of the harmonization in the first place, so I don't know why were they thinking on. But Rabbi, let me progress to something else here. Stay with the legislature. Your man was I'm not sure he's your man. Thomas Fala made some news then. He threatened or vowed to make Yeke Kaluba a former representative, and he said you can take it to the bank. And because the reason is because Yeke Koluba is using words against the president and the leadership of the House of Representatives, and against most leaders in the country. He said the way Yeke talks it does not represent the behavior of an honorable man, and that behavior should not be allowed. But let me roll you the clip so you can listen and put some context around this thing.
For what we heard, what we listened to,
What did you hear?
we try to get it here because I did not attend the program, but we hear it from the gossip. People talk about how he spoke about bringing the government down with entity my uncle friend. Allegedly, I want to be careful because I do not have evidence in my hand. And he has said it repeatedly, insult the president, the leadership of this country. And I think it's not the right way to go. This is a civilized country. And I saw Yeke the other day. He came to Capitol building somebody, he come reckless and gone are those days. And Yeke, you have to understand this today under the sound of my voice because I know you were challenged. And we will make sure if Yeke do continue in this path, and I want to say this clear on the record, that Honorable Yeke Koluba will have to retract if he did. Because the legal system is there, the rule of law is there, he will be invited. But under our rules, we will make sure that Yeke Koluba comply because the legislature have its own rules and there are penalties. And I know Yeke is aware that the individual that is making this comment is of no joke. When we take issue, we take it and make it serious. Yeke will be called and he will be subjected to probe. And an attempt not to submit himself will be left with no alternative. Probably if he's lucky, let me use the word lucky carefully, there will be suspension for Yeke Koluba this time around. If it's not, and if he doesn't regret or retract the statement or comments made, Yeke will be called former representative in the next couple of days or month to be. You can take this. It's not a threat. In compliance with our rules.
What rules?
The rule 43.
Which rule gives you the authority to make
Rule 43, we can suspend, we can expel. If I or my father do misbehave, and in the belief of my colleagues, they believe that my attitude brought the body to public disrepute, and I can raise this requisite number to suspend, we can suspend. Even our speaker can be removed for a cause. The rules there is clear, so he is aware. So if we continue in this path, because I know when he gets this recalling, he's going to respond. And if he do respond without giving regret, Yeke will be called former representative, and you can take this to the bank.
Okay, so I'm concerned about.
There you have it. You can take it to the bank. I don't know, Robert, these CDC guys, this bank. Mama Molu told us we should take it to the bank. Thomas Farah is going to be elected a senator. It didn't happen. I don't know what happened to that bank and the Karos Great Bank. These guys keep making big mouth and they can't stand by it. But there you have it. What do you make of that?
I think just reckless obsession. People just pretty much power drunk. They sometimes come across as being very paranoid, just paranoia. Look, why I don't support Yeke's combustible and vocal style. I think people can disagree and express themselves in a very unique way, void of the vulgarity, void of the combustible nature. But again, probably that's a style. I don't support that. I don't like that. I will not do that. I don't think we should trade in insults and vulgarity. However, the man you just brought, what moral ground does he have to even cast expression? He works in a House of Representatives that's very ineffective and inefficient. They are very corrupt. He's been involved in and accused of also. The person said, in fact, he's not even speaking with any authenticity. He said he doesn't even know what the man said it, gossip and blah, blah. So I don't want to go into what Yeke said. But I do know Yeke combustible and vocal style. Do I support it? No, because that's not my style. I think you can disagree with people like disagree with the regime and the status quo, but I don't go using vulgarity. I don't do that. Again, that's Yeke style. In this is the country we have. But the CDC, all right, that's their style. The rest of the CDC people, that's a style. They've been communicating in that style and fashion. That's their language. So Yeke is really speaking the language for them. All right, they used to insult President Salih, said horrible things about her, degrade and all the other people. So that's their style. So maybe Yeke is speaking in the language They understand best because they're not intelligent people. Sorry, they're not disciplined people. That's how they talk. So you can respond to them in such manner. I don't support that kind of style, but they introduced that style in the country, talking to people in such unruly way, vocal way, combustible way. You really don't have to be combustible. You can disagree people and do that in the very logical, in the very civil, in a very courteous form, you know. But this vulgarity thing and combustibility thing and this kind of abrasive style, I don't support it. Now, this man should be reeling and bleeding from the way he was defeated in the just ended senatorial election. I don't know what power he has to be able to make Yeke a one-term president. That is in the jurisdiction of the people in
A
Yeke
one-term
district.
representative. One-term
One-term
representative.
representative, sorry. That is in the jurisdiction of the people of Yeke's district. They will make a decision. I think they will be able to make an evaluation about his service. Has he performed well? Has he served the district? Has he kept his promises? Those will be the fundamental things the district will look at. Has he been able to impact the people? Has he kept his pledges to the people? For me, those are the fundamental issues. Yeah, Yeke may be combustible, he may be vocal, but let's leave him as he is and allow faith to be his judge. Let's look at his function as a lawmaker. Is he performing to the taste of his people, to the liking of his people? Has he kept his pledge? The Nemo just did a microscope, a barometer, the entire legislature with respect to the performance. Very wonderful piece of job they did. They brought they disgraced a lot of lawmakers. I don't know what is Yeke grading. I was not here, I was in Lofa. I need that report, but I think it's a pretty good job to begin to microscope the legislature and their performance. I want to know what happens with the Yeke district and other districts, but some of the lawmakers, you'll be shocked. People that saw Kobe, other people came down very bad. I mean, they failed. They failed in the last 3 years. They failed their people big time. So for me,
Yeah,
the
I
argument
read that report.
yeah, the argument should be more fundamental. Now, every other thing he's saying over there for me, they're conjecture, just pure conjecture. But you get that, we'll find way to move in this and other. That's political. I mean, I think more or less trying to please Mr. Weir. I mean, that's what they're doing. They've got the majority. Let's see what happens. But that should not be the argument because no one, the group from the CDC, they can't followers of the CDC, do not have the moral standing to cast a special on Yeke because they are the one who be involved in the kind of civil, discourteous, act. They are the guys who always doing things in a more horrible style and fashion. The regurgitate messages that are so demeaning and so horrible and below the belt. So we know them. So you get probably speaking in the language I don't understand best. That's the language I understand best. That's all I can say.
All right. Thank you, Rabbi Moncio Kpadeh, the chief discussant of this program, the opposition perspective, answering, say, moderating. Of course, you are watching Focus on Liberia, where we discuss the issue that matter. We educate, we elevate, and promote all things Liberia, and we are promoting the political discourse of Mama Liberia, and we do that so fearlessly, and we don't care who get hurt politically. Let's read some comments, and then after reading that comment, I will bring in a segment. I have a question here for Rabbi Moncio Kpadeh. You are listening to him. He's firing. He is a member of the opposition bloc, or he supports ardently the opposition bloc. And we have a question here for you. Now that Mr. Weir, from what we're getting from him, he and his team not up to the task. Does the opposition have a plan? Rabbi has a task to tell us because we need an alternative. If this one the Liberian people chose is not working, it seems not to be working for us. So we need one. Does the opposition have one for the Liberian people? Now your comments. While Rabbi take a little break, let me read some comments here quickly. This one is from Abbas Ma. I'm following from the office of the Solidarity Movement in support of Senator-elect Brandon Samoka. Thanks for always bringing sense to the national discourse this person meant to discuss. Now somebody supporting Brandon Samoka, he does not care about his quote-unquote tinted record. He's supporting his side. This is what these politicians and their soldiers do. Their political soldiers, they support each side. They don't care whether Mama Liberia is getting crunched in the middle. Same water rights. Why the antiquated language of revolutionary? How does that represent forward looking an innovative change for a better Liberia. Well, if you don't want to be a revolutionary, we are talking about revolutionary, revolution of the mind, I should put it rightly. This is Abu Bakar Khan following live from Lagos, Nigeria. My man, when the general is live, people from across Africa are listening. This is from Honorable Jide King. Liberians and their crap mentality. I don't know what you're talking about. Another political talking head, he said. He's throwing punches here. He continues. GF cases improving under the president and government. Now he's has jumped on that wagon of praising, but now he want to crucify another person for critiquing his government. When last you visited JFK, this man is in Liberia. The opposition perspective is not the facts. Well, it's your cookies jar. Maybe you should take a piece and eat. Honorable Jida again, Mountain, ask yourself the question. I don't know. Let me leave that one. Let me see what is Mountain saying. My daughter was to be admitted at JFK. They told her that no bed to admit her. All right, Jida King, there you have it. Somebody is sharing a personal experience with you. These guys are going back and forth here. So let me leave them alone. Let them fight their fight. This one is from Mohammed. I agree with the mother. Mom, your son was killed by an order from the highest. He writes. This one is from Rufus. Rufus writes, when the killing starts, it does not stop until the dictator is forced out of power. Some people are getting philosophical in your comments, Robert. Let's continue here. This one said, it is so sad that the president himself, as a human, would not reach out to the family to express his sympathy. That got a good point right there. Emmanuel Jackson, watching from Boston. Oh, that is a comrade here in the U.S. He's watching religiously. James Zodwa, you should give your text message to form the word to force him out of power. Nonsense. I don't know why you're trying to talk that. Let me see this one. Sam Waller again. Sam Waller is always busy. Hold on a second. Didn't salary reduction begin in 2015 and 2016 with reduction in minister and deputy minister and autonomous agency and head compensation? Believe he's asking the question. Well, Samuel Twe is the chief adjective of harmonization. You should direct your questions to him. Maybe he will have an answer. I don't know. I know they cut people's salary. That's why they're protesting. I can't express my own opinion. Then I'm Costa Cha. Ha ha. They are fighting here. Let me see this one from somebody I know, Professor Aze Zawlo. Have you followed the harmonization program at all? You are very much ill-informed. I said, do this for me. Give me Samuel to let him come and explain the harmonization. That brother will not even show up here. He is a political coward. He goes to where the choir is so that they can sing the chorus together. He doesn't want to come here. He did not say he will make Yeke a wanted representative. He said the horse can suspend or expel him. And you got that one right. He said he will make Yeke a former representative. That's why he said, thank you for that correction. Hilary Yua, you talk too much. Oh, this person is writing something that is not professional. You know, this intellectualism, folks, when you come to A, be civil. You know, you can be forceful with your language, but be civil. We use words here, but we use them courteously, even though they are powerful. Let's hear this one. No, you can't start insulting people. We're talking about these things and you still want to insult. Well, Rabbi, I don't want, because of time, to respond to these comments, but you can do. You are a man who knows how to get around these things. But the question I have for you to close this broadcast, because we're going 1 hour, 15 minutes already. The opposition, if at all Liberians are in despair, and I believe you, Liberians are in despair. I know it for a fact. I get a lot of phone calls. I'm paying attention to these things. They are in despair. So we must find an alternative. The question is, where do we look? I believe we can all agree it's in the opposition bloc. Yet the question is, does the opposition have a plan for Liberia, Robert?
Look, more than ever before, it is a matter of exigency, urgency, to get Mr. Weah out of office by way of the ballot box in 2023. Mr. Weah has proven to be unfit. He's proven to be a flunky. He's proven to be incapable. He's not a man of honesty. He does not know how to run this country. For the most part, his leadership is a total infamy, meaning a shame. This argues our point in a very strong way that Mr. Weah should be removed from office. Now, so it puts the burden on the opposition. Now, does the opposition have a plan? Well, perhaps they have not unhatched the plan or exposed the plan. I want to believe they do. I want to believe they do have a plan. There must be a plan. The CPP, firstly, internally has a structure and organize itself and solidify itself to fight. Don't forget, it will not be a walk in the park to get Mr. Weah out of office. Mr. Weah is a sitting president. He has money, he has power, he has guns, he has everything. All right, to commandeer, election result in his favor. So you will need a more progressive, pragmatic, solidified, united front in the opposition to be able to get Mr. Weah by way of the ballot box. So to do that, we have to be genuine. We have to begin, at least before the end of this year, identify who will be on the ticket as a leader. The first, that's about internal structure organization. The opposition need to find a way to establish who will be the leader of the opposition ticket. All right. They also need to establish what will be the clear agenda they want to espouse. All right. So as much better than what Mr. Weah and his bunch are doing. So we gotta be clear about that. We also want to assure the people that Mr. Weah is a flunky, he's failing, and he has betrayed the confidence of the people. But we have better alternatives. Who are the qualities of people we put forward? All right. What are the examples we're setting to say to the people we have better options? So all of those things have to be put in place, and they have to be clearly succinct that yes, we are ready to take power. We have to be established, established and structured and organized as a government in waiting. That must be sensed in our message, sensed in our actions, and our deeds. Because when we condemn the
What happened at Rabo's end? Rabo, are you there? All right, folks, there is a glitch at Rabo Moncio Kpadeh's end. I think he was answering a question whether the opposition has a plan. Let's hope that he returns.
Sorry, so I do have some internet stuff. So, like I said, so you cannot be condemning the status quo or the real establishment, but then on the other side, you're seeing doing the same things and stuff like. So we need to be clear about the basic things. We need to guide our action as opposition, because like I said, Mr. Weah or the real establishment, all right, have a lot, all right, in their favor to fight back. All right, except that the records against them are pretty horrible, are pretty damning. All right, a record of corruption, massive corruption, wanton corruption. The regime has been scandalous. All right, the regime does not show respect to meritocracy. They're dismoney performing because a bulk of the guys placed in major positions are not qualified, not fit for the job. So the regime is a total mess. It's a menace. The real regime is a menace for the people. So the records are very clear, very unequivocal. Already evidence against Mr. Weah, a stockpile is very preponderant. However, the opposition, beginning with the CPP, has to organize and structure itself in a way that delineates from the excesses of the ruling establishment and position itself as a government in waiting.
Now, but where is the plan? Where is that plan? Is it in some kind of imaginary closet?
Well, between you and myself, I wouldn't know the full plan yet. We begin to work with some of the leaders now in the CPP to understand the direction. All right, I have been speaking with Ambassador Boyka, have a very long, deep conversation about where the country must go beyond 2023. But again, Mr. Barker is a member of the CPP. He is not the leader yet. So we need to be clear about the structure, and organization of the CPP. Beyond that, I think the total fate of the opposition doesn't get right with the CPP. My understanding is that the progressives are coming together. Okay, if the CPP cannot exude itself and exert itself as an alternative, a third force must emerge. And that third force will be led by the progressive. All right. The progressive are coming together. They're establishing, all right, coming together because they believe that leadership and governance is very critical. There can be no other time in our history than now where leadership is urgent and the need to recalibrate this country and put it on a steady course, can't be overemphasized. So a lot of things happening. Like I said, maybe the next 2 weeks I should be able to say to you, nosy within the CPP. I'm not a member of any of the party. I have a very good relationship, political relationship, and I support Boyka. Work with, and then who's bring me to the person who said I worked with Mr. Boyka for 2 years. I've never worked with Mr. Boyka. So correct your facts. I've never worked in his office. I supported him for the presidency. I don't see any reason not to do that again in 2023, except there's a competitive reason. I think he's a very good leader.
We see Mandan Saleh stay along the edges of the opposition corridor, kind of mailing fences with folks in the Liberty Party instead of her own party, the Unity Party. I continue to argue that she staffed Omen Bwaka in the back politically. The last election, I think she's trying to do that again.
Look, at the end of the day, as people of God and people of faith, we allow faith to be the judge. At this point, we want to put more emphasis on the Liberian people. We want to work with the Liberian people. We are aware of the machinations unfolding. We are aware of planning to put spanners in the work, because some people who are vestiges of the Liberian politics, all they do is they throw spanner in the work, But at the end of the day, this is about the Liberian people. We will conscientize our people to resist, evil, to resist people who want to put spanner in the work, who want to undermine good leaders. The tragedy that we witness today, they are responsible for the tragedy that we witness today. They brought this nightmare on our country. They brought this menace on our country. They rejected and said, we are sorry, Mr. Barker, undermining, all right? And we know that was not a free, fair election, all right? They coronated and enthroned we are into the presidency. The we are presidency is a total disgrace. It's a disaster. It's a tragedy. So it's the same people who brought this demon on us and this nightmare on our country. Now engineering, okay? And masterminding another evil again to plunge the people in perpetual evil, in perpetual subjugation, in perpetual economic disaster. Look, I said to you, the gods of our land will rise. All right, will rise. But I said to you, our people are listening. Our people know who is better prepared to lead them, who has the wherewithal and the temperament and the experience to lead them, who has the country at heart. And so a person who wants to undermine Bwaka presidency, you can understand what that person will be doing such, because that person should just be nothing but a symbol of evil. And we will fight back. We will fight back. This is about the people. We own this country together. All right? You cannot continue to be the one, misguiding in the politics of our country and contaminating the politics of our country. As I said, we need to sanitize the politics, because rather than politics helping our people, politics now has become a problem for our people. And because some vestiges, evil vestiges, are in our politics, are the reason for this, and we're not going to bow to anybody. We want this country together, and we will stand up to ensure that it works. So you can be doing all your photos here and there, you can be doing this, you can be doing that. At the end of the day, that I bring people speak. And this election 2023, oh man, we will ensure that it is a fair election. No man can mess with it. Nothing will happen.
Rabo, I'm here. We will be following, and I hope the opposition is going to get this thing together, because I see that the madam is up to something, and how calculative, and she's the one. When she says she's going to get it, she always get her way. And so I'm worried, because the
Well,
one she just got her way, and we know how things going, and so I'm fearing
I
that she
said
might
this
get her
much
way
to
again.
you.
Hmm.
I say this much to you,
Hmm.
Anthony. There's a God above all. There is a God above all. And we will do what we have to do.
Hmm.
We'll do what we have to do. We'll
Hmm.
work with our people. I just came from Lofa. I'm going to Nima in 2 weeks. We'll work with our people. We'll provide a consciousness for our people. I talk about
All right.
OPRM operations and the mission. We will do that. Our people deserve better. The cars were decked against Dillon, right?
Hmm.
He ran against the ruling party. They put millions of dollars. The same father that he just brought on against Dillon.
Hmm.
They don't have nothing. Absolutely. He spent no money. He had nothing to spend. But he became senator. It should speak to
Certainly.
the conscience of our people and the dedication and the decisiveness of our people that they want to see leaders, who will say no to evil and who will depart from doing things in darkness. They will depart doing the wrong things, depart from doing the wrong things, and try to work to put the country on a set of course. It's not going to be perfect yet, but people are gravitating there, and we'll help to propel our people there. So look, we respect everybody, but we fear nobody. Okay? We respect
Thank you.
everybody, but we fear nobody. We'll do our job and we'll work with other people.
Thank you, folks. That was Robert Moncio Kpadeh, the leader of the One People Revolutionary Movement, and he is the chief discussant of this program, The Opposition Perspective, with Robert Moncio Kpadeh. Robert, we are always grateful to you, when you bring your, brutal tenacity to the discussion here. We always appreciate that. Let's hope that we, after next, we will have another exciting edition so that folks, will get to know how the opposition sees it. We near Liberia. We got to fight for that Liberia, and we have to listen to every side. Thank you so very much for coming. Folks, this is what I have to close with, and it's written by Dr. K. Mosenamwe, or Dr. Professor K. Mosenamwe, and this is what I'm going to close with. And he titled it, The Crux of a Country. He writes, quite easy to know the crux of a country. Those who, political prestos, he called them, twist and turn, like boneless beings shaping themselves, any which way they fit the situation and circumstances. For personal comfort, they are more shaping all letters of the alphabet when explaining themselves anyway. You know they are crows of the country when they whisper and dodge about. He continues, you know they are crows of the country when nothing their partners in crime do that is worthy of reckoning. For them, white comes off as black, yellow comes off as green, and red comes off as blue. For them, arms are legs, ears are eyes, bellies are butts, he continues, and toes are fingers. You really know they are crows of the country when God comes off as Satan, and thus Satan is the best thing in the world. You know they are crows of the country. Dr. K. Moses Namwe there using a legendary pen and trying to narrate that there are folks in the country who are crows. They see black, the thing is white. When they see someone suffering, the thing that is enjoyment for them. Until next time, I'm Anthony C. saying to you, bye-bye and thanks for watching The Opposition Perspective with Rabbi Moncio Kpadeh. Our song, we are all Liberians. That nationalistic song that should be taking us to that glorious land of liberty by God's command is taking us home. Bye-bye for now.
We all Liberians.